When one engages in the devotional service to the Lord in the 9 different kinds of bhakti-yoga as enunciated in authoritative scriptures, such as hearing, shravanam, chanting, kirtanam, remembering, offering worship, praying and offering personal service, either in one of them or 2 or 3 or all of them, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the service of the 3 modes of material nature. Unless one has good engagements in spiritual service, it is not possible to get out of the attachment to material service. Those who are not devotees, therefore, are interested in so-called humanitarian or philanthropic work, such as opening a hospital or charitable institution. These are undoubtedly good works in the sense that they are pious activities, and their result is that the performer may get some opportunities for sense gratification, either in this life or in the next. Devotional service, however, is beyond the boundary of sense gratification. It is completely spiritual activity. When one engages in the spiritual activities of devotional service, naturally he does not get an opportunity to engage in sense gratificatory activities. Krishna conscious activities are performed not blindly, but with perfect understanding of knowledge and renunciation. This kind of yoga practice, in which the mind is always fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotion, results in liberation in this very life. The person who performs such acts gets in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya therefore approved the process of hearing from realized devotees about the pastimes of the Lord. It does not matter to what category of this world the audience belongs. If one meekly and submissively hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, he will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable by any other process. Hearing or associating with devotees is the most important function for self-realization. So in this verse it's mentioned that by engaging in the service of the Lord, by developing Krishna consciousness, and by not engaging in the service of modes of material nature. Yesterday we were hearing in the class that how we do our morning sadhana, chanting, hearing, reading, and we get spiritualized. But if we don't remain Krishna conscious or don't be conscious of the Lord, many times we do mechanically our service. No doubt the saving grace is that it is service of the Lord. Even in the 12th chapter, Krishna says there are gradations. If you cannot do this, do this. Cannot do this, do my work. So that way we are all very fortunate, even though we may be completely forgetful of the Lord, but we are serving the Lord, serving the mission of the Lord, serving the mission of a pure devotee of the Lord. So that way we will definitely get benefited. So here it said, thus by not engaging in the service of the modes of material nature, when we get overpowered, when we forget Krishna, Krishna bhulya bhogavancha kare, nikatasthamaya tare jhapatiya dhare. The modes of material nature pounce on us, overpower us. And it's like the elephant taking a bath and then coming back and throwing the dust back on its body. Nullifies the whole cleansing process. So in the practice of devotional service, on one side we are engaging in devotional service, other side we should also be conscious, just like the acharyas have given us, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Always remember Krishna includes never forget Krishna, but still it is mentioned never forget Krishna. So in other words, we have to be cautious, just like the example is given of an expert gardener who is always cautious of the weeds. He is always cautious of the small sapling, properly watering it, removing the weeds from time to time. So that way, devotional service, sometimes devotees get into a paradigm, there's a lot of free time, and because there's free time, so a lot of gossip is happening and all. Actually, a devotee should be very, very busy. Because there's so much to be done, so much of work has to happen, if not externally, internally. So in that sense, if somebody says, I have no service or I am unengaged, in this thing, Prabhupada here says that one when engages in devotional service in the 9 different kinds of bhakti-yoga, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam. So there are so many opportunities. If there's nothing else we read, there's nothing else we chant. Either one of them or 2 or 3 or all of them, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the service of the 3 modes of material nature. Now, how do we not engage in the service of the modes of material nature? The formula is very simple. We all know that the constitutional, inseparable, intrinsic quality of a jiva is to serve. We cannot avoid serving even for a moment. So here Prabhupada says, if one engages in offering personal service, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the service of the 3 modes of material nature. So if we keep ourselves engaged in Krishna's service in any of these 9 processes, by chanting, hearing, reading, or whatever any one of them, any 1, 2, 3, or all of them, then we are free from the service of the modes of material nature. Moment we stop doing any of these 9 things, we engage in the service of modes of material nature. Unless one has good engagements in spiritual service, it is not possible to get out of the attachment to material service. That's why we see many times people, they have that natural desire to serve. Sometimes they rise from that selfish platform, I, mine, my family, and they try to do for the society. They open hospitals, apparently very selfless work, helping the poor, helping the needy. So here says, we have to engage. That's why there are undoubtedly good works like opening of hospital or charitable institutions, in the sense that they are pious activities, and the result is the performer may get some opportunities for sense gratification either in this life or in the next. Now when we engage in these 9 processes of devotional services, it is of a totally different category. It is not punya karma. It cannot be compared to the activity of opening a hospital or doing some social welfare activity. Because devotional service is beyond the boundary of sense gratification. It is completely spiritual activity, and when one engages in the spiritual activities of devotional service, naturally he does not get an opportunity to engage in sense gratificatory activities. Actually, we all are so fortunate that Prabhupada has created an institution where 24 hours we have an opportunity to be engaged in Lord's service. 24 hours we have the opportunity to be engaged in 9 kinds of devotional service. Which is a very, very big spiritual luxury. It's a good fortune. There are many devotees practicing Krishna consciousness outside. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna consciousness does not mean only when one is a full-time missionary. But there are restrictions. A person may read, may chant, may hear, but then he has to engage in activities. No doubt those activities also can be done for the pleasure of the Lord. The results of those activities can be offered to the Lord. Those activities also can be done with a devotional consciousness. So we should remember our good fortune. So here it is said that when one engages in these 9 devotional acts, so as devotees, our endeavor should be, every moment should be engaged in these 9 activities, one of these 9 activities. Either we are hearing, or we are chanting, or we are remembering, or we are serving, or we are praying. And when one does that, he will be free from the influence of the modes of material nature. Modes of material nature is like an imprisonment. Yesterday we talked about that bodily concept of life is an imprisonment. The modes of material nature force us to come down from the spiritual platform to the material platform. When one starts thinking in terms of I and mine, body and the associated bodily relatives. One time Shankaracharya, he was looking for a key outside his house in the street, underneath a street light. He had lost the key and he was desperately trying to find out where the key is. And one of his disciples came back to the ashram and saw Shankaracharya himself kneeling and looking for the key underneath a street light. So naturally, he also said, he came to know that he's lost the key, so he also started searching for the key. And it went on for some time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then the disciple, asked Shankaracharya, do you remember where you lost the key? It is natural when this question comes in mind. Do you remember vaguely? Where do you remember? So Shankaracharya, yeah, I remember. It was somewhere inside next to the bed. So the disciple was a little amused. He says, you lost the key inside, near the bed, and why are you searching here? So he said, inside, because the oil got over in the lamp, it became very dark. So I thought, let me search the key outside where there is light. So the disciple, was really, he didn't say, but it was apparent from his looks, how can he be so foolish? Lost the key inside and is looking for the key outside in the light. So Shankaracharya just smiled when the disciple was, wonderstruck with this answer. So Shankaracharya smiled. And he said, isn't this the case with all of us? This is a very important lesson. Actually, living entity is intrinsically happy. Sat, Chit and Ananda. He doesn't need anything else. He is Amsha of the Lord, in association with the Lord. He is completely happy, joyful, experiencing blissful relationship, reciprocal relationship with the Lord. That is the quality of the jiva. Actually, all of us are looking for happiness in the external world through sense gratification and so many other elaborate arrangements for that happiness. Hoping against hope that I will be happy by this arrangement, by that arrangement, by this achievement, by this accomplishment. And that's why the goalposts keep changing. That's why nobody is happy. Krishna in the Gita says, 3rd chapter, when one is self-realized, when is illumined from within, when is self-satisfied, is happy within, he has no duty to perform. And how do we find that happiness? How do we be situated in that intrinsic state of Sat, Chit and Ananda? When we are free from the modes of material nature and when we are serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, by engaging in the service of not by engaging in the service of modes of material nature, by developing Krishna consciousness, which is nothing but the jiva realizing that I am Amsha of the Lord, I am eternally servant of the Lord, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nityera Krishna Das. Knowledge in renunciation. Naturally, when one develops this knowledge that I am Amsha of the Lord, my duty is to serve the Lord, naturally jnana will result in vairagya. Automatically we will not serve false masters. When we realize my true master is Krishna, I am Amsha of him, my duty is to serve him, automatically we will not want to serve false masters. In which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one achieves my association in this very life. So we all are in this business of achieving our lost happiness. And how the process is very simple. We have to revive our Krishna consciousness. We don't need any external thing. So Prabhupada says a devotee, if he has an opportunity to serve, be in association of devotees, and take little prasadam, he should be happy. If we are not happy, that means we are under the influence of the modes. No doubt, it's a fact that we cannot suddenly get out of the modes of material nature. We are conditioned for many, many lifetimes. It will take. We are in the process of purification. But otherwise, for our happiness, we don't need elaborate arrangements. We don't need some big things to happen. We don't need big accomplishments. We don't need name, fame, adoration, position. Intrinsically that happiness is there. And if we are not experiencing, we should understand. Sometimes it becomes obvious that I have anarthas. I am lusty. Give factor in that. Sometimes we blame somebody else outside. I am not happy not because of him, not because of this, not because of that. I am happy because I have anarthas. I am still in bodily concept. Still I am overpowered by modes of material nature. Then, in one sense it is empowering, because otherwise we blame others and empower others. They are controlling me. Because of them I am unhappy. Because of this I am not experiencing happiness. The answer is, it's within you. Srila Prabhupada once, this was in 1977, he was in Vrindavan. And as we know, his health was not quite good. And he was taking some kind of Ayurvedic treatment. And his health was generally deteriorating. It was, from day to day, it was becoming bad to worse. So the Kaviraj who was treating him had advised him complete rest. He should not travel, because even till 1977 he was traveling. So I don't remember the month, there was a Rath Yatra in London. And by then there were hundreds and thousands of devotees. And each one of them wanting to have darshan of Prabhupada, have a glimpse of Prabhupada, hear from Prabhupada. So they had organized a very, very big Rath Yatra festival in London. And all the devotees there, the leaders there, they were calling Prabhupada, they were writing letters and calling Prabhupada that, please Prabhupada, come. It will be very inspiring for devotees to have you here. The whole festival will be surcharged when you are here. And here Kaviraj is saying that you should not be moving, you should not be traveling. So one side there was a pressure for them to come, and the secretaries and the senior devotees who were attending Prabhupada, they were always some kind of a pushback. No, Prabhupada cannot come, Prabhupada's health is not okay, Prabhupada is advised not to travel. And the devotees, please. And then one of the devotees called up and said, even if he cannot speak, let him just come. Just by seeing him, just by having a glimpse of him, the devotees will be enthused. Let him just come. Let him not speak. Let him not travel. Just let him come. So when Prabhupada came to know that devotees are so eagerly waiting for him to come, he decides, okay, I'll go. Imagine Kaviraj is saying, you cannot travel, you should take bed rest. He says, I'll travel. So Prabhupada went to London, this was the last time. And from the airport, Prabhupada was taken to Bhaktivedanta Manor in the car. Finally from the car, because Prabhupada could not walk, so a palanquin was brought, some kind of a palaki. Prabhupada was shifted from the car into the palaki, and the palaki was brought into the temple hall. And as soon as the palaki was brought, Prabhupada came in, and as usual, Govindam Adipurusham song was played. So Prabhupada was very weak, with some support. He was sitting on the palaki, hand folded. And while that Govindam Adipurusham song was going on, profusely tears were flowing from his eyes. And the devotees who were carrying the palaki, when they're looking back, continuously tears are gushing through the eyes of Prabhupada. Even his kurta became completely wet. And that song got over, so Prabhupada indicated again. Again that song was played, and Prabhupada is just completely absorbed, thinking, seeing the deities, having darshan, and tears are flowing from his eyes. So the condition was that Prabhupada would not speak. That was agreed upon. Prabhupada would just come so that devotees can have darshan and they are enthused. That was the condition. But nevertheless, some devotee brought the mic. Maybe Prabhupada wants to speak something. So Prabhupada got the mic. The mic was brought before his mouth, hands folded, tears flowing from his eyes. And he says, simply love Krishna. Again, tears are flowing and the mic was taken away. These are the 3 words Prabhupada spoke. All the way he went to London, and simply love Krishna. Now, it is said that when a pure devotee speaks, just like here it is said, if one meekly and submissively hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, we can also speak big lectures. No transformation will happen. A pure devotee speaks just few words. It evokes transcendental emotions. I spoke the same pastime last Sunday in Mumbai. And one person, after the session, he said, I'm very touched. This thing, that is the purity is the force. So here it says, when one hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, he will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable by any other process. Hearing or associating with devotees is the most important function for self-realization. Hearing and associating with devotees from a realized soul. Everyone can say, depend on Krishna, remember Krishna, we should serve Krishna. But what is going on in our heart? What is our realization? To that extent we will be able, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tare Pravartanat. What's going on in our heart? So that's why for a devotee, it's not just preaching alone. Janma Sarthaka Kari Karopakar. To the extent we are realized, to the extent we have imbibed those instructions, what's going on in our heart, to that extent we'll be able to touch others. And for that we don't require bombastic words, we don't require eloquent speaking, we require realizations. If one meekly and submissively hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, he will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable by any other process. Hearing or associating with devotees is the most important function for self-realization. That's why we should be very, very cautious when we do our morning sadhana, chanting, reading or hearing Bhagavatam. One day it's okay, maybe we are tired, we are sleepy. One day it's okay, maybe we couldn't chant properly, the mind is agitated. But if it is happening day after day, and it doesn't affect me, I am not bothered about it. Sometimes devotees get into that, maybe day after day, or chanting time, feeling sleepy and then talking to someone. One should do something. One day it's okay, maybe we are not in control of our body, the body is tired or whatever it is. But if it's happening day after day, there's something really wrong. And we have to do something. Yena tena prakarena. Somehow or the other. Even if we have to do some material gymnastics in terms of washing our face, or do something, or breathing, or whatever it is. Because these are the foundational building blocks. Hearing from a realized soul, hearing the holy name of the Lord, hearing the Lord who has come in the form of His holy name. And unless we have this spiritual strength, here it is said, modes of material nature are waiting. Nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare. And we have all observed, it's on a day-to-day basis. One day chanting is not okay, the whole day you will see your mind is powerful. It's like the medicine. So devotees have to be very conscientious, very alert, very sincere. Sometimes we also, because we have been asked to do it, we do it. We should understand, many times, now I realize when I was studying, did my engineering, computer science, we were just simply studying the books. There was no overall picture. You're going depth of networking and computer organization. One simple question I was asked in an interview, how does a computer work? I fumbled giving the answer. Because sometimes you lose the overall purpose of what we are doing. We are here in the process of purification, anartha nivritti, to revive our lost Krishna consciousness. And when we revive that, Krishna says, one achieves my association in this very life, for I am the Supreme. And it's not like we have to wait for many, many lifetimes. If we are sincere, if we are conscientious, if we are very determined, we are always in the mode of how I can do better, how I can do better, how I can improve. In this very lifetime we can purify. In another lecture, Prabhupada says, we know the world today is very different from what it was 20 years back. And world 20 years back is very different from what it was 40 years back. The world is rapidly changing. The changes which has happened in the last 10 years has not happened in the last century. And the changes are not very pleasant as far as practice of Krishna consciousness is concerned. Imagine if we don't finish this process in this life and we again take birth with the Reliance Jio, unlimited browsing, streaming live videos. There's no guarantee that we will, the Maya's attraction, the allurements will be much, much higher. So that way we should be very inspired that this very lifetime, Krishna is saying here, my association in this very lifetime, for I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll stop here. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.